In this video, I'm going to spend 8 minutes on my 8 favorite Mac apps that I think you'll find really useful, especially if you work in tech or software. Whether you work an office job, or you're a founder, or maybe you're a solopreneur, you should be able to get some value out of these apps, and I'm willing to bet that you won't have seen all of them in another video. Now let's get started by talking about the simplest app I use every day, which is called Haze Over. Now, Haze Over is a really simple app, but it's made a big difference to my focus. All it does is it highlights the current window that you're working on, but dims all the other windows that are out of focus. A great thing about Haze Over is how easy it is to turn on and off. And there's also a global keyboard shortcut. So if you're working on, for example, 2 windows at once and you want both of them to be active, Haze Over isn't very good at that. It tries to select one or the other. I just disable it in that scenario using the keyboard shortcut, and it solves the problem, and you can reactivate it whenever you want. Okay, so next up is Rectangle. Rectangle is an app I love to combine with Haze Over. Sometimes I'm working with a single app and I want it in the middle of the screen. Sometimes I work with 2 apps where one might take the right half of the screen and the other takes the left half. There are also cases where I might want to quickly throw a window from my big monitor onto my Mac screen, or vice versa. And Rectangle makes it really easy to do all of these with just a single keyboard shortcut. You can set a global shortcut for all sorts of things, including split screen, third of a screen, quarter of a screen, and all sorts of tiling formations, which is what I want when I'm working on my 5K 27-inch monitor. I don't really want apps taking up that full screen. I much prefer it if there's a little bit of space on the sides so I can actually see what I'm working on without having to look left and right too much. Okay, so now let's talk about video calls and meetings. This next app, called Granola, is the best AI note taker I've tried so far. I spent months this year trying to find a really good AI note taker, but I found all of them quite disappointing. Usually you have to invite this AI note taker into your meetings as if they were a person, and anyone who needs to take notes needs to do the same. So if you have a meeting with, say, 5 people, you might have 5 note takers in the same meeting. Granola is a native app that hooks into your computer's sound settings and directly captures the audio from the meeting. It then uses state-of-the-art AI like OpenAI Whisper and GPT-4o to generate and transcribe the notes, so it has the best quality notes that I've seen so far. It also has another trick up its sleeve though. As it's a native app, it also has a note-taking UI where you can add your own notes while the AI is transcribing the meeting. And that will actually give the AI direction as to how to summarize the notes later. Granola is still free, so I would say get it while you can. I'm sure it's not going to remain free forever. They will eventually charge for it, but as it's a brand new note-taking app that came out earlier this year, they are still offering it for free. App number 4 is also a great companion to meetings and video calls, especially if you find yourself often being late to them. If you're ever in focus mode and frantically trying to get stuff done, and you just miss that calendar notification popping up in the right corner, and you're 3 minutes, 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes late to your calls, well, In Your Face will probably fix that. What In Your Face does essentially is it takes over your entire screen so that there is no way you can miss a meeting. It will overlay itself on your screen and block the app below from being used, while you're forced to interact with a prompt that tells you either to join the meeting now or to snooze that notification until the meeting starts. I found this quite ingenious, because it is itself easy enough to dismiss that it doesn't stop you from getting work done, but at the same time it's so obtrusive that it's impossible to ignore. This app is unfortunately not free. You can either get it as a $1.99 per month subscription or a $59 yearly purchase. In Your Face is actually available through Setapp, which is how I would recommend you get it if you like using a lot of Mac apps that have their own paid subscription. The next app I want to talk about is a browser. And I don't switch browsers particularly often. I don't think I've switched browsers since Chrome came out in 2007, but Arc was an exception. It kind of redefines what a browser can do for you. Arc is actually a fully featured productivity suite on top of a browser. Arc just runs Chromium under the hood, so all of your Chrome extensions and preferences and so on still work inside of Arc. But on top of that, you get some really cool features that I think are very useful in getting work done. For example, there's workspaces, which let you split personal and work and every other profile, and you can create as many profiles as you'd like. To separate all of your tabs and favorites and settings, you can actually isolate them inside each workspace. Another really cool feature is Little Arc. If you just want to click a link to preview it and you're not sure whether you want to fully open it up yet, or you're not sure whether you should open this up in a work or a personal profile, you can use Little Arc to quickly preview this window before deciding which profile to open it in. My third favorite feature is pinned tabs and folders. This is Arc's version of bookmarks, but Arc have really brought bookmarks to another level. You can use pinned tabs for sites that you always need in a pinch, or you can put stuff in folders for easy access of lots of things that you don't need all the time. If you're a software engineer like me, there's also a really cool feature that integrates with GitHub called Live Folders. Live folders actually only work with GitHub pull requests at the moment, but what they do is automatically detect which pull requests you need to review and show them inside that live folder. And I use that all the time just to make sure I've gone through any pull request that's waiting on me. Now let's talk about Apple Shortcuts, which is the next app on my list. I don't use anywhere near all of the features that Shortcuts has to offer, but there was one thing that I found to be a bit of a game changer for me. I set up one shortcut called Start Working and one shortcut called Stop Working. What these do is they just shut down every app that is not needed for that mode. So for my Start Working shortcut, it shuts down any personal app that might be running at the time and starts up all the things that I need at work, like Slack, my terminal, Docker, Notion, and so on. And Stop Working does exactly the opposite. The reason I find this so useful is because when I'm working, I often have lots of things running in the background, taking up memory and slowing down my laptop. When I'm working on a personal project or just casually browsing the web, I don't want my battery life to be compromised by everything I need for work. So with Shortcuts, I can just shut those all down in one go and not worry about them until next time. The second to last app to go through today is called Raycast. If you haven't seen Raycast before, it's a replacement for Apple Spotlight that's just 20% better in every way than Spotlight. Raycast's mantra is that you can do everything with it without lifting your hands from the keyboard, and that's what makes it so useful. You can launch apps, uninstall apps, do basic maths calculations, and also do some basic unit conversions, which is probably what I use it for 99% of the time. Raycast have recently started adding some AI features as well, so you can chat with ChatGPT right through Raycast, and Raycast has just been slowly getting better since the day it was launched, and will continue to do so. And that brings us to our final 8th app, which is Warp. This is probably not very useful to you unless you are a software engineer and you use a terminal day to day, but Warp is easily the best terminal I've used in a long time. Warp is a brand new terminal written in Rust, so it prioritizes speed and efficiency, but it also has so many standout features that I think it's a must-have for any software engineer. You can edit text on it just like you can with a text editor, and it even supports things like multi-cursor editing. You can also configure workflows to launch multiple windows and tabs and run several commands at the same time. At work, I use this to quickly launch our backend and frontend so I can develop locally. Warp also has a bunch of AI features, like, for example, typing in plain English to find the command that you're looking for. Warp is also free, so I highly recommend this terminal and I use it every day. Let me know in the comments below if there are other apps that you like using that I've missed out on. If you've made it this far, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video.